Hey guys, Tony here again. Well, it's been 8 weeks since we started our veggie garden project, so I thought today, just to show that we haven't been sitting on our backsides and doing nothing, I'd give you a little bit of a tour and a bit of an update as to what's been happening. Now, some of the progress has been a little bit slow. We've learnt a few things along the way, as you do when you're starting out on these projects and you don't really have a huge expert volume of knowledge, but things aren't progressing too bad, and we're sort of happy where things are at, and we're just sort of learning and adapting, learning new things along the way that we're trying to implement into our garden, so hopefully we end up with a fruitful harvest at the end. So let's get on with the tour. So I thought I'd just start at the one end of the garden and work our way down. This here is the most recent one of our garden beds that we've prepared. I don't know if you can see closely here, but Beck, who is our Minister of Planting Plants, just put some purple beans in here the other day. Only just sort of little shoots that we got out of our seedlings, so you can see a little one shooting up there. That one there, that's looking a little bit healthier, so that one's starting to shoot up. We've got one just popping up there at the end there, so hopefully they'll take. I only transplanted them in there probably a couple of days ago. So moving right along, in the bed next to it here, got a row of cucumbers down the middle there, which we started from seedlings. So they're coming along not too bad. That's not 8 weeks worth of growing there. That's probably around about, probably more likely 4 or 5, because we started those in seedlings. Now we've got bok choy growing on that side there, and we've got some onions growing down that side there as well. Now, as you've noticed there, we've chosen to use this bluestone rock as our edging for our gardens here, which was more a choice made out of the fact that we've just had so much of this rock in a massive pile left by the previous owner of the property, so it just made sense to use this as an edging for our garden beds. Now, I don't think it's necessarily ideal. I think the ideal material for a garden edging is either a timber frame or like a corrugated iron frame or something like that. Now, the advantage being with those things is that the problem with rocks is that it tends to have too many gaps in between, so if you get a heavy downpour you can get quite a lot of erosion and wash off of your garden beds, unless you've got a nice layer of mulch down to help with the erosion. But you can get a bit of runoff. It runs off your dirt, and your soil runs out through the cracks in your rocks, so it's not necessarily the ideal. But hey, it looks great and it will do the job, I think. But if you do have timber and you do have iron or some sort of solid garden edging, I think that's probably always the better option to go for. Now, this bed here that we're looking at is basically, we've just got 3 rows of corn there, and they're coming along nicely. Moving along to the next bed here, a row of corn down the middle there, and then on each side, these little plants running along the side there, we've got some cauliflower. Now, they were planted from seeds in the garden bed, they weren't from seedlings. Now, moving across here, just looking at my map here, sorry I'm taking, so moving along here, we have got silver beet down this side here, and we've got beetroot growing this side, and what have we got in the middle there? Oh, sorry, we've got cucumber popping up in the middle there as well. So we've got cucumber down the middle there. Moving across to this one, we've got 2 rows of sugar snap peas. Now, I've just got to set up some trellis here so the peas can grow up the trellis as they start to get a bit more mature, so I'll have to set that up fairly soon. Moving across here, come to our next garden bed. We've got two big tomato plants there, and then either side of the tomato plants there we've got a row of broccoli. As you can see there, I've put up some trellis there just to help the tomato grow up. Just used two star pickets, and just a little bit of rural wire fencing just here, just to allow the tomatoes to grow up onto that as they get higher. Over onto this side here, again we've got two tomato bushes, and on each side of that we've got sugarloaf cabbage. Now, I don't suppose you noticed, but the sugarloaf cabbage and the broccoli leaf is actually fairly similar, and we actually wondered whether I'd planted the same plant. I was dead certain that I hadn't, and did a bit of research, and they're actually from the same family. So the early plants that come out of a seedling look almost identical, but as the more mature leaves start to take over, that's when you'll start to see the difference between the two veggies. And then over here we've got our pumpkins powering along. They're already starting to flower. As you can see through here, we're starting to get some flowers there on our pumpkins, and some new buds forming in there, which is really good. And they're really starting to run crazy. I've set up a trellis there too, just to give them a bit of space to grow up on. Now, moving over here to the end of our veggie garden, this is the irrigation point that I put in a few weeks ago. So I've got a video for that, just showing you exactly how I did that. So the plan, as we move along, is initially obviously we use that just as a point where we can plug our hose in and water the garden, but I actually want to run an irrigation system all the way down the centre of the garden, and actually have pipework, irrigation pipe running to all the separate garden beds, and have it all fully automated. So that's the plan. A little bit of work to do here initially. We've got to separate some of these plants here because they're too close together, and we're just going to separate those, and my wife is, that's what she loves doing, and she is going to plant them on another garden bed further down. So that's one job we've got to do. We're also going to mulch these gardens. We're going to get some sugarcane mulch up the gardens, so we get a little bit of organic material going in there. The mulch also helps with any sort of erosion, as mentioned before, if we get some decent rain, which we often do. Now, this little shed here, this was here as a dog shelter initially, and we're just using this as a temporary shelter just to put some of our fertilisers and our like potting mix and gypsum and stuff like that, any fencing wire, just little things that we find really useful, and things that we use quite a lot. So it's quite handy to have that little shed there, just as so we don't have to run a long distance to go and get materials. We can just jump in there, pull it out, and get some work done quickly. These little setups here, that little bar there, initially set those up. We had a hailstorm come in, and I needed to protect the plants and the seedlings from any potential hail that might have come along. So I set those up and just sort of set up like a teepee, and just put tarps and shade cloth and any sort of material I could find lying around, just to protect the plants from the hailstorm. In the end, the hailstorm didn't come, but I've decided to keep those in place. We can use those to help set up trellis in the future, and also it won't take too long then to set up any protective measures we'll need if a hailstorm should come again. So that's about it for now. Obviously we're going to be learning a lot more, and probably a lot of mistakes there that you can see that we've done, which hopefully we'll figure out, and in the end hopefully get a fairly fruitful harvest. But I hope to give you another update in a few weeks' time. Until then, see you on the next video. Cheers.